Well, welcome back. It's Bill Brandmeier here, ready to play week. We're into our fourth day. It's college sports, and there's no better person in my life that I admire more that is involved in impacting young people in their lives, making a difference in this world, but also winning championships and being a part of a culture that really sets the standard in college basketball. I'm here with head coach Bill Self. I'm honored to have you with us. You're here with Ready to Play Week. My friend, thank you so much for being a part of this. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing fine. I'm not as busy as you've been this week for sure.
Yeah.
You got a lot of balls in the air.
Yeah, this has been a really fun week. We started off on Monday with Will Shields kicking this thing off. The Will to Succeed Foundation is a great partner of ours. We are talking about the safe return to sports and how we want to get our kids back into playing the games we love, but we want to do it safely. And I know that is a chief concern of yours. Before we kind of dive into that, I want to start off just going back to the days when you first were realizing this was going on. I know you've been asked this 100 times. And this isn't going to be a normal interview that you normally get from people because I'm not a professional here. But when it started happening, when you were headed towards Kansas City with your team and geared up to just kick some major whoop ass on the world, take over college basketball and win a national championship for KU, and you heard that this thing might have to shut down. I'm sure your thoughts just went straight out to your players, but tell us a little bit about how that felt.
You know what, Bill? I don't think it was that bad on Tuesday. Okay, so we go over there on Tuesday, and if I'm not mistaken, I think we went over Tuesday night, had a nice meal, and then we practiced Wednesday at our allotted time. And at that time, they said fans on Wednesday, but probably no fans Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So we're like, what? And then I'm walking home from the Sprint Center, walking back to the Marriott from the Sprint Center, and I come up on a couple, and they come over, hey, coach. And I said, you in town for the tournament? I said, yeah, we just flew in for New York. We're graduates. We haven't seen KU play in 20 years. We're so excited. And I told them right then, I said, you know what, I hate to be the bearer of this news, but I don't think you're going to see us again. And they were crushed. And there was a lot of people like that. So the games play Wednesday night with fans, and then the decision is made, no fans. And so we get up to I think our game was like at 1 or 1:30 against Okie State. So we're up at 9, whatever, 8:30, doing scout, eating, doing all the stuff that you do. Game's on. We go upstairs to shower, get ready to go. In between that time, the tournament's off. So naturally, we call the guys and say, hey, we're done this weekend. NCAA tournament's still on. They're regrouping. We're not in a hurry. Let's leave here at 1 o'clock, and we'll regroup back in Lawrence. And then that's when chaos kind of hit. It was announced that we were pulling out of the tournament with Duke. It was that was inaccurate. There was a lot of different things going on. Had our players in panic mode, and then we got them all calmed down because my sources had told me, Bill, there's going to be probably a tournament. It's just going to be different, like possibly just everybody going to one site, possibly just taking 16 or 32 teams, possibly whatever it is to try to salvage it. And so I told the guys that they're still working on it, and how factual that was, what I was told, I don't know, but that's just my inside sources. And then it was canceled. We found out over ESPN that it was canceled. So we go from, we had a nice team this year, but a lot of people had nice teams, but we probably were about as good as anybody. And we go from that excitement, and you work your butts off, as whenever think of the Chiefs as great as they've been, and then not being able to play in the playoffs. And at least for our guys, it's all relative. And they go from that to, hey, within 48 hours, get out of here, pack up, and we're not bringing you back till the summer. I mean, so yeah, it was different. I think our guys handled it maturely. I think we've all done pretty well considering this is bigger than a tournament. in the grand scope of things, obviously, but disappointing. But there's a lot of people it's been disappointed this time of year. I mean, how many families have suffered through this? Financial crisis, being laid off, being furloughed, kids at home, don't have any way to look after them, schools called out. Right. And then you have all the residual things, Bill, that what you're talking about that have come from this, that have taken away activity, opportunities, things like this, because we basically have been quarantined to an extent. So it's a unique time.
It really is. And it changes all the time. How often do you feel like you've heard what's happening from an outside source when you felt like you should have been the first one to know? I mean, it has to be a constant, just aggravating deal. Well, all of a sudden on Twitter, someone's saying something different and you're like, when did that come up?
Well, to be candid with you, I think our administration has done a good job of trying to keep us informed of what's going on. But I won't say a great job because I don't think they know.
Right.
I mean, so how can people share what they don't know? So I mean, we've tried to communicate within each other, but it's a fluid situation, but I found out a lot of things like new NCAA legislation, when we can recruit, when we can't, all this stuff. Right. I mean, our compliance people do a fabulous job of keeping us posted, but still yet. It first leaks through the media. So you find out the stuff through the media first. And so it's been different. And right now, as you know, I mean, here you are, you guys have busted your tail. Kids are excited to get back to playing and all this stuff. And as of right now, there's that cloud hovering again. Are we going to have to slow this down? Are we going to have to put the brakes on something? You know, I'm hopeful not, but you know, we got to have contingency plans all over the place. And that's not something that we're used to doing.
Well, it's so true. Talking about the here and now, you know, what's happening today and what happened, you know, just last week as we, you know, it seemed like June, we were all just pent up, ready to get back out there. A lot of baseball games have been played in June. Sports camps are coming back online. There's just a lot of things that are, you know, trying to get back to a normal. Do you feel like it's happening too quickly? Do you feel like we need to slow down, or do you feel like it's not happening quickly enough? What's your gut telling you?
Well, you know, I watch all the news stations, and depending on which one you watch, you know, will give you this perspective of whatever. You know, if you're watching one, we need to open up, and hey, this is just life. If you're watching another, can you believe all the cases and potential deaths that could become of this? My personal thinking is you err on the side of health. You know, it's always easy because, you know, when I came to Kansas, I never knew how smart everybody was at Kansas. So much smarter than me. I got a degree, all that stuff, but I never knew that every accountant or doctor or plumber or teacher or electrician or whatever knew not only everything that they knew, I mean about their own craft.
They know your job.
My craft too. And so I knew nothing about theirs, but they knew everything about theirs and mine. And so it's easy to be an armchair quarterback at this, saying, well, we should have done this, or our administration should have done that, or the president should have done this. Or, I mean, who knows exactly how this could be handled, because this is just such uncharted waters. I do think this. And this is there's been so many things going on. Of course, the social issues that we have going on across America, which do deserve the attention and do deserve the protests and everything that's come about. But the timing has been a perfect storm for the pandemic too. So we have done some things that we needed to do and had to do, but it probably wasn't the best of time for all these things to come together right now. And so I do think that even though we're in, what are we in now? Phase 3 or phase 4? I don't even know what phase.
Phase three.
We're phase 3. Unfortunately, I think that can move backwards.
I think so too. I'm a little afraid.
And then the other thing is this is what's so weird in Douglas County, we went through a phase where we only had like 60 confirmed cases. I mean, no deaths, 60 confirmed cases, in a span of 3 months. And then the second that the hint of students are back on campus, right. That it may not double, but it's close. Right. And you're getting all these tweets on your phone and everything. Hey, anybody that was at this place, you could have been compromised or had contact. Anybody here or anybody there, and now there's a little bit of worry that's been thrown into this, which was going to happen regardless. But I can't imagine bringing 20,000 kids back to one place and say, okay, guys, for the betterment of yourself and everybody else, nobody go out. Nobody eat together.
No way.
Everybody stay in your same dorm room.
Yeah.
And I just don't see how that's going to be possible.
Right. Well, we've turned into the place that the kids come and hang out. I have got a 16-year-old and a 19-year-old, and we've, basically people want to come over to our house and spend time in the backyard and whatever. And you do want to be super careful who you spend time with and how close you get to them, and practice all the safe precautions they recommend. When it comes to your players, I kind of want to shift gears a little bit, because a lot of what we're talking about here, staying ready to play, staying motivated, when I first asked you to do a video to encourage people to keep fit and active while they were at home, take personal responsibility for their fitness so that when they get back out on the field, they'll be ready. I started thinking about what that meant to your players and how important at the level that they have achieved as individuals and now playing for one of the top universities in the country. They probably get out of bed going, part of my job is to keep myself ready to play. There's other athletes out there that don't have that kind of level of pressure and determination, but they still want to be engaged. Talk a little bit about what it takes as an athlete to get yourself up and out and spend the 60 to 90 minutes a day making sure that you're doing what you need to be doing to stay engaged. It's got to be hard.
Well, I found this out, and I could be wrong, and you may be different than me, Bill, but if somebody is making me do something, I probably am more motivated to do it than if somebody's telling me it's a choice to do something.
Right.
And because one thing about it is with these college athletes, and you can take Kansas out of the equation, I'm talking about just in general, and we can talk about Kansas later, but just in general, there is somebody that is telling them this is what you need to do. And that somebody could be a youth league coach, that somebody could be a high school coach, that somebody could be a trainer, that somebody could be, obviously a major college or NBA coach. They're telling you what to do, right. And you're even finding out now. You're finding out now that, people are motivated by different things, and many are motivated just like I'm not motivated to work out, but I am motivated to go to work every day.
Right.
Where these athletes, that is their job to go to work. So they're motivated to do that. But I really think that if nobody was in the stands and nobody was looking over my shoulder and nobody really cared what I was doing, I could see myself slacking off.
Sure.
And because the pressure you feel is even though you put pressure, everybody says, well, you can't put as much pressure as I put on myself. Everybody says that. And I do think that could be true. But the bottom line, the outside pressures also add to the pressure you put on yourself.
Well, I watched The Last Dance, and no one put more pressure on himself than Michael Jordan, right? But then again, Michael Jordan motivated every single player he played with, right? And they wouldn't have been as good. They wouldn't have been as good without someone like Michael showing them how it's done.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt about that. But I think our guys are pretty much self-starters in that way. I'm excited to see which guys are working, which aren't. The thing that's different, I think this is easier for me than for many, is that my guys have ultimate goals to do this for a living.
Right.
Where the vast majority of kids, don't have that goal. They have it for activity. They have it to get, for a college kid, you have it to get your education paid for. There's so many things where my guys are thinking, hey, if I don't do this, I won't have a chance to do what I want to do for the rest of my earning power or whatever. And so, and to set myself up with my family. So they have been, our guys have been brainwashed a certain way. Others have been brainwashed other ways. And there's no right or there's no wrong. It's just, I think it's easier for my guys sometimes to get up and go do that than it would be, let's say, a walk-on football player or a walk-on basketball player that just wants to be part of a team and hopefully get their degree. Right. Or a high school reserve or a junior high kid that hopes they make the team. It's a little bit different. And so being a self-starter and having some self-discipline, I think, is more important now than it ever has been.
So of your current players, who do you think has that most that will take that responsibility the most? Who do you know without a doubt they're going to show up ready?
David McCormack.
Yeah, he works.
Been the hardest worker since he's been here. So David McCormack, I would say for sure. I think there's others too. But I mean, just to be real candid with you, the definition of work in some people's mind is not our definition of what work is. I remember when we went up to watch the Twins practice, and we watched them practice for 2 hours, Marcus and Markeith, and they came over and they asked me and Dooley, okay, guys, what'd you think? And Dooley says, on a scale of 1 to 10, they said, yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think of our practice today? And he said, a -3. If you do that one day here, we will run you off. And they were like going, what are you talking about? We worked our ass off, but it's just a different world. And so, but David McCormack has that. I think Ochai's got it without question. He wants to be good really bad. But the Silvio, the Mitch, the Christian, the Tristan, the Jalen. I mean, there's so many others.
So
they have it.
Yeah.
They have it, but I don't know that I've seen them personally have it unless I'm around. I know David went from weighing 320 to 250 pounds by setting his own diet and doing all. I mean, I know that. Mm-hmm. But the other ones, they say they're doing it, but we can't really know if they're doing it to the same level, because if you go out and shoot for an hour, you don't get any better unless you practice shooting the way that you're going to shoot in a game. And and it's just a little different, but I think most of our guys are probably very good at it.
Well, that's awesome. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about how sports has transformed lives in your world. Obviously, your life has been transformed by sports. You decided a long time ago you were going to make sports a significant part of who and what you are, and you've used it to do some amazing things and continue to find ways to give back to the community. Who in your the history of the kids that you've coached, who do you think has used sports to transform their lives and take them from a path that may have been destructive and not so good, that has elevated themselves beyond? And I've got someone in mind, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, there's been many.
I know.
The thing about it is, Bill, as you know, you don't care about a kid that had the worst background ever more than you do a kid that had a very good 2-parent home and all these things. You don't care about them more, but there is that extra incentive to make sure those guys succeed. Right. Because I never thought that I started at second base. I mean, my parents were both teachers. A vacation was load up a Coleman cooler with bologna and cheese sandwiches and let's drive somewhere. And my sister and myself would sit in the very back of the station wagon, counting, how many miles do you think it is to that mountain or whatever? That was the best of the best.
ABC game, or eight kids in a Volvo. Let me tell you, we went to Arizona.
So I don't see that as me, but there are certain things that happened in my life that compared to others. I did start at second base. I did start. I had parents at home. How many parents out there are working two jobs so they can't even be at home just so they can put food on the table for their youngsters. So whenever you deal with those situations, you want to see those kids be successful, not more than the others, but there's just that additional pride. Ben McLemore, Jamari Traylor. I'll say that right off the bat. Those two, it's unbelievable what those kids went through to get to where they are, and then to see them kick it in the butt after they have. And there's others. There's Thomas, there's Sharon. There's so many.
I met with Elijah and his beautiful wife, and unbelievable what he's done and how he's built his life around, sports. And, he's one of those athletes. He wasn't the star of everything. He was obviously solid, but what he's done after college has been amazing.
Yeah. Bill, you brought up a good point. People think if you're recruited to Kansas or recruited to football to OU or whatever, you're automatically all this and all that. Elijah was a really good prospect, but he was, I hate to say this, by high major standards, he was just a guy.
Right.
And he comes and he pays his due. Travis Relaford's another great example. Mm-hmm. Travis Relaford was great for us. Great. But and he was recruited, but he wasn't recruited as elite. And so what those kids accomplished in the time that they were here, to me, is the equal of what Joel or Andrew did. Right. Even though, those other guys, obviously had more God-given raw ability that they were able to go on to the NBA and have such great careers. But it is fun to see this, and it's also fun, to see. To me, you look at Jamari. This is not a fabricated story. The dude lived homeless.
Right.
The dude lived in cars. He lived in abandoned houses for a year. He and his mother had a falling out over an issue, and now fortunately they're tighter than ever, and everything's great. But this dude is productive. He's got his degree, and the one thing I will say is this, Bill, and I know I'm rambling. This is one thing about the social injustices that has made it so true to me, that people in a position like I've been in, Will Shields has been in, others have been in, it draws you.
The last thing that he was talking about was his role in the position he's been given in terms of social justice, and how he has a responsibility in that area. I'm going to try to pick it up with that. Basically, I'm going to say something like, that's a really good question. There he is. You made it through the day, Coach.
I made it. I'm sorry. I had to wait on a call, and then I'm cooking fajitas for everybody tonight. So I was trying to get the grill ready.
We're having Mexican too. My wife got tacos ready for us. So we'll make this short. Okay. I'm gonna prep you a little bit, tell you where you were at, and see if we can pick your thought back up. We had just gotten done talking about Jamari Traylor and what an incredible person he has become through the power of sports. We had touched on how you have a responsibility in terms of the position that you've been given, along with people like Will Shields and other people, to talk about social justice in a certain way. And so what I'm going to say is, that leads me to a great question, Coach. Tell me about what you think your responsibility is in terms of your life dedicated to a leader of men or something like that.
Okay.
All right. Well, that brings up a great question of mine. So tell me, you're a leader of men. You've been working with kids, that are 18, 19 years old, bringing them into your program. What responsibility do you have to help show them a different way of being treated? And as someone who understands the battles that go on, whether you're white, black, or pink, tell me a little bit about what you're thinking in terms of what your responsibility is.
Well, I think our responsibility as a leader and a coach is to prepare everybody that we come in contact with in the period of time that we have any type of leadership ability over them, is to prepare them to be the best husband, father, provider that they could possibly be. I really feel that way. I think athletics can do that in so many ways. I think educationally you can do it so many ways, and certainly in all aspects, I think give you the tools to do that. Whether it be perseverance, toughness, being a good teammate, sacrificing for the good of others, to educationally, to job opportunities, to whatever it would be, providing and instilling qualities that would allow you to be a better leader in your family and those sorts of things. I think that's our goal.
Well, so you talked about athletes that have taken advantage of the opportunity to be a part of something bigger than themselves and use sports to change their lives. Who, as they've worked their way through your program and went on to success in life, who do you think exemplifies that to the T? Who has taken what they've learned and built upon it and grown as a man in this world to impact others?
I would say 90% of everybody we come in contact with. I really think you'd be hard pressed not to be better by going through the collegiate model that's not only presented on our campus, that's presented on other campuses, with the leadership and the tutelage that's available to you. Bill, to your point, one thing that I have found out is I think the locker room, and I think Will would probably be the one to address this as well as anybody, but the locker room is different than the real world. We are all put in a position because of the one common goal that in locker rooms, even though it does exist, it doesn't exist to the point as it does in society. I mean, I don't know that you could ever say, I don't see color, or I don't see white, I don't see black. I mean, I can say that, but are my words always equal to what I'm saying? And I bet there's been numerous times I failed. But the reality is the locker room is different. When I chew out a player, I could care less. Their race, I mean, or their religion. I mean, I could care less. And when I praise them, I could care less. And when they talk to each other as teammates and get on each other in the locker room and tease each other, and they don't care about that either. But there's certain things that are said in the locker room that can't be said on the street because you haven't taken the time to really understand that person or the opportunity to understand that person and see where that person is coming from, because they know, the guys in my locker room know my heart. And if I say something that goes against what they think is right, they probably know, Coach didn't he didn't mean it that way. Whereas if you say that amongst people you don't know or care about, oh no, can you believe this dude said that? And you can say the same thing as a player to a coach. So I do think that taking the time to put yourself in somebody else's shoes before you pass judgment on what is right and what is wrong. This is not a time where the way your parents have raised you is anything to fall back on. I mean, this is a whole different world now. And I mean, you probably grew up in a home that when you turned 18, you were probably pretty well set on what political affiliation you were based on how you've been raised in your own house.
Right.
And this is different. Hey, forget that. Let's start from scratch and let's get to know where everybody's coming from. And I mean that from all sides. And that's something as a leader, I think that we can do a better job of, if we want to lead, we have to understand our clientele. And I think that this is something that, even though I've always felt like I had a pretty good feel, I realized going through this that my field probably wasn't quite as great as what I thought it was.
Right. Well, I think we all have that, and that's a really powerful admission on your part. And I think it just, goes to the fact that you are someone that really thinks about your role as a leader and what the impact that you can have on not only your athletes that are inside this locker room where you've created equity and connection, but even outside, as people look at who and what you are as a person. And obviously there are people out there trying to tear you down and make you out to be something you're not. And, I'm here to tell you, Bill Self is one of the greatest people I've ever known and met. And he's displayed that so many times over and over. Who would even question it? So that's just me saying me, and that's me being me. But I love you guys.
but Bill, you know this, when you're in a position to lead, like if you're a very, very popular politician, that means 52% of the people like you and 48 do not like you.
Right.
Okay. If you're in a position like a basketball coach, like I am, you're hopeful that it's 90-10 or 80-20, but it's not going to be that. I know that. And when there's so many outside things going on, all you can do is, in my opinion, is just, kind of hang tough and stay strong. There's a lot of people going through a lot more stuff than what we go through. And certainly there's real life scenarios where here we are, we're worried about so many things, which we should be, because everything is relevant in everybody's life. Somebody's bad haircut to them that day, which you haven't had one of those in a while, but somebody's bad haircut to them is as depressing as somebody that has to make a decision that affects millions of people. I mean, at least in their mind. And so even though it's not in the real world, but that's what's important to them. So you can't downplay the relevance and importance to other people. But I do think that we should all take a step back and stand with each other as opposed to standing out in front of each other. Well, that's something I'm going to try to do.
That's really good, I think that people are really going to want to hear that. We're doing this Ready to Play week. We're talking about what's actually happening with athletes in this real world right now, this crazy chaos that we're all living in, and we do need to take a step back, and this is a time of reflection for a lot of us, where we have a little bit more time of free time. The demands on our schedule is a lot less, and we can reflect a little bit about ourselves and change, how we view the world. So,
hey, can I say one other thing, Bill? And this probably doesn't belong on Thursday. It probably belongs on Monday or Tuesday. But there's something that has always bugged me about parents, including my wife and myself, is that we can all feel like we can be objective about all kids except our own.
Right.
I mean, there's no way we can be objective about our own children. I mean, so I'll give you a case in point. When Tyler, my son, played high school ball, he was an average player. I mean, and I'm not speaking out of turn or anything like that. And I remember sitting at the dinner table, and my wife, who was qualified to be an expert because she was a cheerleader. Okay, so she was qualified in basketball without question because she cheered, and she married me, which doesn't qualify anybody or whatnot. But that's what she would think. And I've had so many parents tell me, well, I really understand ball. I'm not like your normal parent. And I'm like, oh, you do? Well, what's your experiences? Well, I got cut from my junior high team when I was so-and-so, or I took a theory of coaching class in college or whatever. And it's comical because, we see our children so much as maybe an avenue to relive what we didn't get a chance to. And we want our kids to be so good. And basically we want to be so good without really failing or without allowing to fail, or want it to be as easy as they possibly can. And one of the greatest gifts you can give somebody through athletics is watching your son or daughter sit on the bench, to learn how to be a good teammate, right, to learn how to cheer for others, to learn the team is more important than I am.
Yeah.
And that's tough for a parent to watch.
Yeah, my daughter danced, and she wasn't the top dancer in her studio, and she had to watch other dancers place center stage. It helps her.
It provides, like you're an employer. You want to hire somebody that's always been at the top. You want to hire somebody that's had to be in a situation where their job is to make others look good. Isn't that what you want coming into your company as a starter, as opposed to somebody that doesn't know how to do that?
Right.
And so I feel that strongly. And the other thing is I remember Cindy saying one time, "Can you believe he took him out? Can you believe this? Can you believe that?" And I'm like going, "Well, babe, how many practices have you been to?" I mean, well, I hadn't been to practice. Anybody can see this. The other kid missed 3 shots, and he was selfish and took a bad shot. And all he did was just throw it away once and miss 1 shot. He came out, and I'm like, okay. And then when the dinner was over, I would call her. I said, you just said that in front of Tyler, and so basically, you just told Tyler it's okay to question authority. And it doesn't apply to Tyler. It only applies to others, and that's what's so funny. And something else about parents that have kids that are playing peewee ball or junior high ball or whatever. When you have so many volunteer coaches out there, so many men and women that are sacrificing their time. It may be in large part because they want to spend more time with their own child, but even doing that, they're spending time with you.
I mean, they're babies.
Your child. And so if we sit there, well, why does he bat him 7th? He played him right field for the first 3 innings, or this or that, or blah, 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 blah. That person is giving your child time that obviously, because of whatever reasons, you didn't have time to give him.
Right.
And it drives me nuts for people not to.
I know. And I remember listening to you at the parent-child basketball camps. You'd get the parents in that room, and you'd be like, "Will you lighten up on these kids, please? Just let them."
You're not going to get a scholarship in 6th grade or 7th grade. You're not going to. But I had a buddy of mine call the other day, and he's running for a political office, and he coached my son in elementary baseball all the way through the Rebels. I mean, all the way through, junior high and whatever. And Tyler, batted 8th, 9th, played right field or whatever. Or a lot of times, it didn't get in until the 4th or 5th inning or something like that. And he wanted me to support him. And I'm like going, nah. No, my son batted 9th too many times. I don't think I can do that. I said that as a joke, but I think that's how people really think. But if somebody is giving your child's time that you can't because of your workload or whatever your situation is, then understand that it's not always going to go your way. But I think that's why I think sports is so great, because there's so much you can learn through it. But there's also things parents can learn through it also. And I think a lot of times we want our kids to do well so bad that we put them in situations where they don't fail. And you don't like your team because you're not playing, well, you switch teams or you switch schools or you do this or do that. If you flunk a test, you switch a class or drop the class.
Right.
No, it's time to fight through some crap. And that's what makes real athletes. So those guys that can do that.
Well, you're listening to Ready to Play Week. We have head coach Bill Self on with us. Really appreciate all your time, Coach. Incredible insights as we close this interview out. I just want to thank you. We're looking forward to getting back to, regular basketball, regular, life as we know it, watching sports. As this unravels, and moves forward through the summer, it's going to be interesting to watch it. And we're going to be paying attention. Looking forward to, watching the Jayhawks put together a team where it looks like going into this season, you're not quite sure what you might have. A lot of great talent and a lot of kids, like you said earlier, that are dedicated to their sport and dedicated to themselves. It's going to be interesting.
We'll be good. But a lot of people out there think that we'll be good. I mean, they think they'll be good too. And this time of year, I don't know that anybody's lost a game yet. So everybody's undefeated. Everybody's optimistic and everything. But no matter what curveball's thrown everybody, whether what grade you're in or whether you're a high school graduate this year that didn't get to have a chance to have a prom or a high school graduation, whatever's been thrown at you, know there's bigger things out there in your future that'll be thrown at you. And somehow this may be preparation to handle those things better. So there's got to be a silver lining in some way if we're mature about it and handle it the right way.
Well, that's a great way to leave it. And I appreciate your time. This has been a phenomenal experience for me. First time I've ever got to interview a head coach of a big five, varsity, whatever. This is a thrill of a lifetime. I really appreciate your time. Look forward to seeing you. And we're going to do Ready to Play this week, and then we're going to continue to try to make waves and, affect change in youth sports and bring great messages, just like you said. So thank you so much for your time.
Hey, last thing, okay? Right. What's so great about what you're doing and Will and everybody's doing is promoting participation. It's promoting preparation and participation. And what I see happen so often is kids can get discouraged at a young age. The thing about it is with kids, it's unbelievable. A seventh grader may not grow another inch, and a seventh grader may grow another 1.5 feet after. I mean, who knows how people mature and develop at the same time? Sure. The only thing I would say is always try to understand that regardless of how things are going now, it's probably not going to be that way later on, and don't regret not doing something because at that moment it didn't feel right. Because there's going to be things 2 years from now that feel so different than it does today. So I encourage everybody to stick it out and be part of a team, and then make a decision at whatever time if you don't want to do that or go a different direction. If I see too many kids get discouraged and stop, and that's not a good thing at all.
Yep, that's it. Keep playing sports. That's the message. And like I said, thank you so much. And this will be on Thursday. We're excited. It's going to be incredible. So thank you so much for your time.
You're the man.
Take care.
Okay. Thanks, Bill. See you, bud.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Well, that was head coach Bill Self of the Kansas Jayhawks, giving us his take on all things youth sports, social justice. Incredible interview. Thank you so much, Coach Self. This is Ready to Play Week on 1510 AM, 94.5 FM, ESPN Kansas City. We'll be back right after this.